Hi, I'm Barry Halterman, the chaplain at the Academy of the New Church, and today's message I have moved back inside because I want to be in a boring place with a boring background and a boring environment to kind of represent what's going on around us right now, but also to link to the story I want to talk about. And I want to go back to where I left off last week, talking about the story of Noah and Noah's Ark and Noah's flood. Because we've just now passed 40 days of the stay-at-home orders here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And Noah has gone through 40 days on the ark full of storms and floods. And that 40 representing that struggle and the trials that we go through, the physical struggles that are going on around us, but also what it does to our minds and to our spirits. And it's interesting that after those 40 days, lots of times we picture Noah as, okay, now after 40 days, he stops at Mount Ararat, the ark comes to rest on Mount Ararat, and he gets off. But actually, it doesn't happen right after 40 days. As the story goes, it takes 150 days of floating. The storm has ended after 40, but there's 150 days between the end of the storm and the time when the ark comes to rest on the top of Mount Ararat. And that's kind of fascinating to me if you look again at that as a metaphor for how we go through changes and how we have the struggles and the traumas of that 40-day part. But then after that, it's not like things are suddenly, instantly all better. There's lots of time that takes place in our spiritual lives when we're trying to change and grow and learn from struggles. And so it says 150 days. So think about that. It's kind of like a time of limbo. Noah can't see any land. He's not in the storm, but he's just floating in the ark. No rudder, no direction, no sights to see, nothing to know where he's going, just floating and waiting. And then finally, it says at the beginning of the passage of that story in Genesis chapter 8, it says, "But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him on the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded." So the waters begin to recede. But then as it goes on, that's 150 days till it comes to stop on the top of Mount Ararat. But actually, it doesn't even end then. The ark comes to rest on the top of it, but he can't even see the land. It takes 3 months before the ark, before the land, the Mount Ararat and the mountains are seen. It takes those 3 months until he actually can see the land. And even then, it doesn't end. He sends out a raven for 40 days, then a dove for 7, and it comes back, then 7 more, and the dove comes back with an olive branch, and then 7 more until it goes and finds a place of nesting. And even then, he's still not disembarking with from all that time onto the land. So the story shows there that life is a process, change is a process, growth is a process. When things are put together badly in the environment around, that story is saying that the floods that come in, the bad ideas and the bad structures and the bad things that kind of need to be changed, it takes time. There's the initial struggle of it all, but then there's the floating, endless floating at times, kind of stuck in limbo. And even then there's changes and stages rather for the changes till we finally get to actually start something new. So the story, I'm hoping, isn't one of discouragement, but one of encouragement. If you go back to the beginning of there, it says, "And God remembered Noah." The Lord is present with Noah through this whole struggle. It doesn't go as fast as Noah wants, just like our changes and things aren't going as fast as we want around us or in our minds. But there's a time where we should have some confidence that the Lord is leading this process. And maybe you've gotten to the point where you've gone through storms in your mind about what's going on and how you're going to deal with all this crud. And maybe you're floating. Or maybe you've hit the top of Mount Ararat and you've at least got some solid ground. You can't see really what needs to change and how you get through all parts of this, but you at least got that solid ground. Or maybe you're starting to see some dry land appear and thinking about how the changes in your own lives and what might be different. Or maybe you actually have sent out that dove and maybe there's a new way of seeing life beginning again. But through it all, I hope you'll get the message of patience and process. And above all, that the Lord is present with you. New Church theology passage that goes with this story says that as long as our trials continue, our spiritual trials continue, we think the Lord is absent. Sometimes to the point of where despair almost prevents us from believing God exists at all. But the Lord is closer then than we can possibly believe. I hope you have a sense of that as you go through all these struggles, it's not obvious where the Lord is. Maybe their storms are still on your life. Maybe you're floating. Maybe you're on Mount Ararat. I don't know where you are in the story, but remember that God remembers you. He's present with you, helping to give you patience, helping to give you faith, helping to give you hope, helping to give you strength to get through the stuff we need to get through and come out the other side with something new and better. I hope that's happening in your world around you. You can see some kind of way of making it better, but especially see how that goes on in your own spirit, in your own psyche, in your own faith, about how you can move forward and be a little different after all this process.